I think we're live.
Yeah. It's showing up on there.
Just like my cat was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. You're doing it. You're doing it.
You want me to do the intro?
Yeah, go ahead.
Even with this cat here?
You'll be fine.
What's
Adds
up?
to it.
What's up, and welcome to this Get Slam podcast. My name is Crawdaddy, alongside, as always, the Lumberjake. And I also have a special guest here. Her name is Jazzy. She's going to probably be in my shot for the remainder of the episode. So what's going on, Lumberjake?
Not much. Pretty much not much in terms of not much like SummerSlam. There really isn't much going on there. But we'll figure it out. We'll work through it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm going to pick up this cat and get her out of the way. Anyway, so yeah, incredible things okay. Nothing with WWE is incredible, but some great things that happen on Raw anyway that I absolutely loved the Brock Lesnar segments. What were your thoughts on them before we kind of dive into what all happened?
I don't know what to make of it. I think it was an attempt to make me not like Brock Lesnar. I don't know what they're trying to go with.
Which most people are already kind of sick of Brock Lesnar. Not necessarily because he doesn't show up all the time, but it's the fact that he's a champion and he doesn't show up.
I thought some of it was funny, but then I thought attacking HEYMAN was weird. I don't know. You could not pay me to be excited about that match. I just don't care. Like, there's nothing going into that with him and Roman that's, to me, worth watching. I've seen it 4 times. It's going to be the same match. It's going to be lame, and Lesnar's probably going to win. I mean, what are they going to do? Because he's probably going to go to the UFC, and they're probably going to make him champion still, so they could still have that and be like, look, he's champion in both promotions. He's important in both. I don't know. He's such a waste. He's such a waste of time. He's a waste of effort. Were the segments that he was in kind of funny and kind of enjoyable? Sure, but overall, there's no steam. There's nothing to care about.
Yeah, I am a little disappointed that they decided to go with the Roman Reigns route. Like, I get it. They want to make Roman Reigns their guy, but they just had a gold mine there when they could with Lashley versus Reigns. Instead, or not Lashley versus Lesnar. And instead, they're going with the same storyline that they've been going with for the past, 4 years now? And it's... Yeah, I mean, but I will give WWE credit because of what they did, at least in the crowd that they were at. I'm not exactly sure what town they were in, but they actually had a good portion of the crowd chanting, "We want Roman," when he did attack Paul Heyman.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is also the same crowd that was doing CM Punk chants. So, I mean, it's hard to gauge. There's Miami, by the way, is where they were at this past week. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think the only thing that can salvage this is Kevin Owens beating Braun and cashing in on Roman or Brock, whoever wins. To me, that's the only thing that could salvage that.
Well, do you think it should be Owens? I mean, because Strowman could potentially do it too. And we actually got a comment. I'm watching the video on the side screen here of our podcast, and JP says, "I wish Braun Strowman would come out and cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase." And I think that's what a lot of people are hoping. But are they going to do this again? Because they've been going with the narrative, and I don't think they want to go with this narrative. But every single time Roman Reigns wins the big one, with the exception of WrestleMania 32, he gets screwed over in some one way or another because they are afraid of the backlash. But it's like, if the fans are this against your guy, maybe he shouldn't be the guy. I mean, I know that they want their homegrown talent to be the guy, but it's not always going to work that way, especially when you got incredible athletes like AJ Styles, like Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, all these guys who came up from the indies and have worked their asses off. And, but I know they want to just show them off and say, hey, we made this guy.
Yeah, and it's the problem is, I think it's a lot of we created him kind of thing, but I also think it's you have this audience that's fickle and can't make up its mind when it wants, and when they give them something they want, it doesn't work. They get bored. They do stupid things. I mean, Rollins and Ziggler was the main event of Extreme Rules, and they could not have cared less.
I know that actually the crowd pissed me off there. I'm not gonna lie.
But that message that you're sending them is, well, you clearly don't know. Maybe you do want Roman. You don't know what you want, kind of stuff. And I think that's probably why they go with him so much. And it's also that kids like him. Kids like him, and they're going to go with what kids want.
Yeah, and that is their target audience, is kids. But do you think that the crowd reaction would have been different if they would have put Styles versus Rusev on last?
I don't know, because I'm in the camp that thinks that Rusev isn't over. It's the Rusev day is over, not necessarily Rusev is over. Mm-hmm. I think that's more the case than him actually being over. So I don't think the reaction would be any different, honestly. I think that was such a lackluster show. I think that crowd was going to be against anything they did, because, to be honest, there really wasn't anything there. No, there wasn't anything that stood out at that pay-per-view. It felt very lame.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pay-per-view I don't think they should have anymore, because you're telling me Extreme Rules, there's only like one Extreme Rules match.
And it didn't even main event.
There's like 2-3 stipulation matches, if that.
Well, let me look here. I'll pull it up right now. Let's see. Extreme Rules. Oh, no, I passed it. Wikipedia is annoying. So let's see. The stipulation matches. We had a tables match on the pre-show, and then we had a steel cage match. Between Owens and Braun Strowman, and then we had the Extreme Rules match for the women's title, and then we had a last man standing. That was it. Other than the 30-minute Iron Man match. Sorry, I'm thinking about the pay-per-view before.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much says it all. It wasn't a very good show. There wasn't. And then the next night, it just showed that it didn't mean anything. I just don't. I'm just very apathetic about SummerSlam. I think that a lot of there's some gems in there, but I think overall the way that any of this has been handled has just been ham-fisted, if that. I mean,
it's been very lackluster. Yeah.
Brock and Roman, like I said earlier, it's the same. You're going to get the same match. If you watch the product at all in the last 4 years, you know what's going to happen. AJ and Samoa Joe could be a good match, could be a fun match.
Go ahead.
I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know with this fan base anymore. I don't know if they're going to turn on. I think it should go last. Instead of Roman and Brock, I think that should be the last match, and I think that'll be a good match.
But it's not. It's not going to be. But here's the thing. I think that the fans are going to, theoretically shit on that match like they have for the last few years. But if they do something big with Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, they could win back people. And hear me out. Because of Brock Lesnar attacking Paul Heyman on Raw, if Heyman somehow maybe aligns himself with Roman Reigns, that could create some intrigue. Keep Roman Reigns off the mic, have him have a mouthpiece, and maybe finally turn him heel you've been wanting to. And it would just be a temporary temporary thing, turn him heel and then, build him up a little bit more. And then when the fans start to like him, if they do, you can turn him back face. That's what I personally think with Roman Reigns.
Honestly,
I don't think there's any saving this match. Depending on the outcome and what goes down.
The Heyman stuff would be a good twist because they've already foreshadowed it. But I don't know. I think that'll be a fun twist at the end, and it'll be entertaining. But what are they going to do with Brock?
Yeah, because
now you're telling me you're going to turn Brock face and make him chase? No, they've got to fight. They work themselves in a corner constantly with this guy because it's just he's supposed to be this big draw, and he keeps causing storyline problems because you only get him a few months out of the year.
See, his first few years there, they were great because, he would only show up a few times, but, storyline purpose, it made sense. You had him first have a match with John Cena when he came in, and then he started having a feud with Triple H that lasted, from I was shortly after Extreme Rules 2012 all the way up until WrestleMania of the next year. Then he started a feud with CM Punk. Then he had a feud with The Undertaker. And, those made sense. And, and they could get away with stuff like that. But putting the title on him was a bad idea. Not necessarily the WWE title, because I actually think that they handled that correctly. Yes, they went a couple pay-per-views without the WWE title, but it wasn't as bad as what they're doing now with the Universal title. But, they could book Brock Lesnar properly. But he needs to be kind of like, similar to what Andre the Giant was, in the fact that he doesn't need a championship to be an attraction. He just needs, to be there.
I just think he needs to just stop.
Yeah, I do think he needs to go away now, but I'm just saying, if they would have booked him right from the get-go, that should be how they booked him.
Yeah. I just think it's time to move on and go in the UFC and just be done with it. There's nothing to me anyway. I don't know. Maybe a casual fan feels that way. I don't know. But to me, there's nothing exciting about a Brock Lesnar match, and you can try and book it any way you want, but there's nothing exciting about that match.
The last good match he had was, not surprisingly at all, with AJ Styles. And that was because they both cared about it.
He's not that's the thing people don't understand. Brock Lesnar's not that good. Brock Lesnar is a great fighter. He's a great MMA, brawler, but he's not a good wrestler. And I know that sounds crazy to say that. Pro wrestler, I should say, because he won championships actually as a, Greco-Roman wrestling, stuff like that. But like professional wrestling wise, he's not very good. He's a gimmick. And
anymore. He used to be pretty good.
He's just, let's do 20 German suplexes. Let's do like 4 F5s and call it a night. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. And the only time he has a good match is where it's a triple threat or it's where somebody else can carry him. And Roman doesn't have that ability to carry a match. He's not a workhorse. Roman Reigns is very similar in that way, where Roman Reigns is the kind of guy that you can have a solid match. I don't think he's bad. I think you can have a solid match with him, but I don't think he's an AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan or, somebody that can bump his ass off and sell like crazy and carry a match. He's not that guy. Neither of them are, and that's why those matches are boring, because it's Superman punch, the kick on the apron that he does.
It's big moves, basically.
Yeah, it's all that. It's Superman punches. It's spears, which is so fucking lame that one of his moves is the spear. The spear is the most overrated, stupid, lamest finishing move that they've ever created. It's just so it's just like you have to give anybody that weighs over 200 pounds, you have to have a spear. They had Batista doing it. They've had Goldberg doing it, Bobby Lashley, Roman Reigns. Edge is the exception because Edge was doing it before all this stuff.
And Edge was actually made the spear look like it hurt.
Big Show was doing it. I'm just saying they've got it. They've got to do something to entice people. None of that is enticing, unless you're a child, which I guess is exactly who they're going for. I totally get that. I understand it's silly to be ranting about a wrestling move at 24, but my point is, it's just SummerSlam looks lame this year. I don't even think I'm going to watch it. I don't think there's. I can just get highlights on Twitter. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there are a couple interesting matches here. Like I said, we do have AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. That should be a good match. You got Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey, which Alexa Bliss, she's been very lackluster in the ring lately, but I have a feeling that Ronda Rousey and hers are going to put on a pretty good match. And then you got Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens for Braun Strowman's Money in the Bank contract. And then the only other one that's going to be good in terms of wrestling is Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins, but we've seen that match now. I believe this will be the third or fourth time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to make, because there's rumors that his contract, Ziggler's contract is up, so I don't know what they're doing with him. The Ronda Rousey stuff, I don't know how I feel about it, because I don't care as much as I would like. I don't know what that is. Maybe I'm just really sour on the product right now. I don't it's not bad. I think her stuff is fine. I just don't. She's not as enticing to me as other people, I guess. Ronda Rousey. I think she does a great job in the ring. I think they need to just stop giving her a microphone, because she cannot cut a promo to save her life. What was the deal with her hair a couple weeks ago? Like, what was that?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody. But yeah, she looks just like Road Dogg back in his heyday.
I don't know what they were thinking with that look. Like, that didn't look intimidating. It looked ridiculous. I think it'll be, but I don't think it'll be a good match. I think both are very capable of putting on a good match. Alexa Bliss is great as always, and I think Ronda is very good in the ring, and I think it'll be a fun match. How do
you think it's going to go down though? Because Mickie James will probably be at Alexa Bliss's corner, and do they want to put the gold on her now? Because they skipped out on it last time because because Nia got DQ'd because of Alexa Bliss, interfering. So Ronda Rousey was able to keep like her winning streak, I guess, which is only two matches. But do you think that they're going to do something similar again where Alexa Bliss gets DQ'd? Or do you think they're actually going to pull the trigger on it?
I think there'll be something like that. I think they're going to keep they're going to want her to keep chasing. I think in the long run, in their mind, there's probably going to be more money in her chasing the title. But then again, I could also see them as a PR move, having her win and having her going on like the Today, doing interviews and stuff and being the face of the company, because she is a big name. She is a household name. So I could see either approach. I think, yeah, they'll probably put it on her and then have her do an interview the very next day. Like, they're going to fly, like, they're in New York. They'll probably put her on the Today Show.
Probably be Roman Reigns and Ronda Rousey on the Today Show.
Yeah, something like that. I think, yeah, she's going to win. I think they're going to put it on her.
So I want to backtrack a little bit, because there's one thing I forgot to bring up about the Universal title. Is the Universal Championship excluding all the rules of every other championship? Because hear me out. Okay, so first off, you got Brock Lesnar, who hasn't defended it in almost 80-some days. But then, if you look back at the history, nobody who has lost the Universal title has gotten a rematch for it. Because when Finn Balor vacated it, he has not had a match for the Universal title since. He's had number one contenders matches, but no actual match for it. You got Kevin Owens. He lost it to Goldberg. No rematch. You have Goldberg, lost it to Brock Lesnar. No rematch. And you can guarantee when Brock Lesnar loses his title to Roman Reigns, there's not going to be a rematch. So does it exclude the rest of the title's rules?
I don't know. You know, that's a very good point. I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. But yeah, that's true. They it's a very weird title, and
I mean, I get why it's there, and everybody keeps saying bring back the big gold belt along with, the World Heavyweight Championship. But I get the reason why they're not doing it, because they want to keep the legacy portion of the championship to the WWE title, I think, but they want to show that they can build up a new title from the ground up. It didn't help that the fans took a dump on the title the second they saw it at SummerSlam 2016. 16
2 years ago.
Yeah, and then, like I said, it doesn't seem to be following any of the other rules of every other championship.
Just scrap it and bring back the World Heavyweight title.
So you're on that bandwagon.
I am. I thought it was silly to make it just. I don't know. It's that to me is a sign they clearly had no idea what they were doing when they unified the belts, and then a year or so later,
3 years later, yeah,
we're gonna split the brands. Well, I'm saying it was like a year or so after they did all that they were like, "Hey, let's split the brands up."
Do you think it would have been better if they would have gone with the 2002 approach and maybe had a floating title between the brands?
No, I think it works better having two separate titles like that.
Yeah, because I mean that creates a lot of intrigue. But if they would have gone the route that they ended up going, but only had one title, and then Brock Lesnar would have had the WWE title, can you imagine how bad that would have been to have? Yeah.
JP has another question, or another statement rather. Says, I hear Shinsuke and AJ, both their contracts are up at the end of the year. I've seen that rumor as well. I've also seen a rumor that New Japan is interested in signing Shinsuke again. I have not seen, take that with a grain of salt. I haven't seen anything from either side, whether that's true or not. I don't think that Shinsuke will do that.
Now, on that note, I do believe that their contracts are up in January, because I believe they were 3-year deals. It was AJ, Shinsuke, Gallows and Anderson. Now for AJ, I don't think he's going anywhere, because he's got it good right now. I mean, he's their WWE champion. He's kind of the guy that they rely on for good match quality. So I don't think AJ is going anywhere. Shinsuke, now it's kind of a toss-up with Shinsuke Nakamura, because they did not put the title on Nakamura. So, and they've kind of, ever since they brought him up to the main roster, it feels like he's just been in kind of this weird limbo. I mean, they turned him heel, which was great, but his matches with Styles were not up to par. Everybody, they were way overhyped, and then when we got him, they weren't anywhere near as good as his work in New Japan. So I think going back to Japan would be a good move for him. But
unless they offer him a monster deal, I don't see the need for him to go back.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, a chance to go home, a chance to go back there and be a mega star. But unless they're offering him a lot of money, I don't think he's going to turn down WWE money,
Well, that's also if WWE, gives him a good deal when contract time comes up, because you could get a really good mouth-watering storyline out of Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kenny Omega for the IWGP Heavyweight title. You could get a good storyline out of even just Shinsuke Nakamura versus Cody, or Marty Scurll, or Kazuchika Okada, or any of those guys. So I don't know. I mean, I think he should go to Japan, but you're right. The money does have to be right for him, I would say.
I could see either thing. either or happening, really.
But, you know, what they should have done, I do think that, you know, they should have planned out that match with Styles a lot better. And I do think they should have put the title on Nakamura. And maybe waited to pull the trigger on turning him heel. And then, like, maybe had one more match with Styles or something. And then turn him heel. And then, you know, they could have got with that. But I think Nakamura should have had a WWE title run. Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to run with him and AJ through SummerSlam because I thought they were going to put it on him at Money in the Bank, but I don't know. Well, let me ask you this question. How do you feel about these well, as we know right now, we don't know what they're going to do with Joe after SummerSlam, but how do you feel about AJ doing just one-off stuff where he's having these one pay-per-view feuds, kind of one-off matches?
I think it's good in the sense of it's more of a variety and you don't get the same repetitive things over and over again. But if you find that right opponent, you could really end up making gold with him because Shinsuke we thought was going to be the right opponent. And we thought, you know, it was going to be a good pay-per-view stretch. We maybe thought maybe they didn't work so hard at WrestleMania because they were going to put on maybe a better show down the line, which they didn't. I mean, their match at Greatest Royal Rumble was slightly better, but the match at Backlash was just, you know, constant kicks to the dick, and then they had their match at Money in the Bank, and that was also kind of lackluster. But
I disagree. I thought most of their matches were fine. I thought those matches were entertaining.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with the matches. It's just they didn't live up to expectation, is my point.
I don't know what expectation you had for Money in the Bank. I thought the Money in the Bank was their best match. But I don't know. I think I get what you're saying because I think a lot of people, like you said earlier, I think they overhyped it. I think that they had these very high expectations and it just didn't, you know, get to that level. And I totally get what you're saying because it was there was a lot of hype behind it, and rightfully so. I mean, this was a big deal. And again, it's very similar to this Joe stuff. Like if you would have said in 2005 that these two would be competing for the WWE Championship at a Big Four pay-per-view for WWE, I would have thought that's not even possible. They're not even close. But here we are. So do you think we might be running into that situation with Joe where it's like we've built this up and hyped this up since their history, or do you think, you know, they'll have a good match? I think it'll be a good match. I'm not someone who didn't like the Shinsuke AJ stuff. I thought they were pretty fine matches.
Again, I thought the Shinsuke AJ matches were fine, but they could have been better. Now, when it comes to the AJ Joe matches, I actually have a feeling that these matches are going to be incredible. And I do think this is going to be a series. I do think the Rusev thing was just a one-off to kind of, you know, get him from, you know, the final B show to the A show pay-per-view. But, yeah, I think that this Samoa Joe, AJ Styles thing is going to run over a few pay-per-views. And I do think that that Samoa Joe is going to be WWE champion within the next few months. I mean,
they had rumored it. Well, they had rumored it way back when they first announced WWE 2K19 that AJ was going to be champion through October. So I'm assuming that he would drop it in Survivor Series, but who knows? Again, it's a rumor. We don't know. So
what they could have him do is I know that people aren't a big fan of this kind of booking, but have him drop the title to Joe at SummerSlam, and then maybe he can win it back right before the game comes out. Something like that.
Again, who knows? I don't think that's at all true anyway. I don't. But then again, I've seen WWE pull stunts like that. So I'm not completely ruling it out. I just don't think that's really going to happen.
Mm-hmm. But he is about 200 days away from beating CM Punk's record.
It's only 200.
It's okay. Lesnar already shattered that because he doesn't show up.
So what do you think the Becky Lynch, Carmella, Charlotte match at SummerSlam?
I think it's going to be a really decent women's match. I don't think it'll be. I don't think it's going to be as good as Bliss versus Rousey. But all these, I mean, at least Lynch and Flair, they have the experience to make this match really good. And then you have that the sneaky heel in Carmella in there, gonna pull all the dirty moves that she can.
I don't like how they did this because
I think they did this on purpose because I think they want to keep the championship on Carmella.
Oh yeah, because she has to win at SummerSlam because of the way they've booked her. They've had Becky and Charlotte both beat her back-to-back weeks to get an opportunity for the title.
Mm-hmm.
You can't book someone like that unless you expect them to do that. And my opinion on that is, I think it's stupid. I think you could have Charlotte beat Becky. You could have had Charlotte beat Becky, last night, and then that's how you build that whole thing, because now you have another storyline in that match where it's like they're friends, but is Charlotte really better than Becky? Or, there's always the second guessing of everything.
Right.
And it just baffles me that they go this route. I get it why they would do this route, because I think it could be an entertaining feud between the three of them. And I think they're all would be entertaining together. Thank God we're past the Asuka Ellsworth crap. But, for me, I just think it would have been so much better to pull the trigger on Becky. And I've been saying that since last summer. Give her a meaningful title reign. And I think they were going that route, and I still think they will, because they've given her that win streak. And, but I just, having Charlotte involved, I just feel like, yes, Carmella's gonna win, where Becky's gonna have Charlotte in the disarmor or something, and get Mella's gonna kick her in the face and pin Charlotte or something. You know what I mean? There's something in that aspect. I just think they should have just went with Becky, but who knows? Maybe they will. I just think the way that they've been booking Carmella, that she's gonna win.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going to be champion going into WWE's all-women's pay-per-view Evolution. Now,
that's not until October, so yeah, I don't see that happening either.
So maybe that they will make Carmella finally drop the title around Hell in a Cell, or maybe even at their Australian show, Super Showdown. But I don't think she's going to go into Evolution as women's champion. I don't think Bliss is either. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It says a lot, because both the women's championships, the title picture for those has a lot more possibilities for storylines and more interesting than the Universal title.
Yeah.
And the WWE Championship, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I just, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like there's a lot better effort put into the women's stuff than there is in the men's stuff. And that's why when we'll get to that soon, why I think Evolution is going to be a very exciting pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Now, since we're talking about Evolution, this was announced 2 Mondays ago. And the speculation at the time was it was either going to be an all-women's pay-per-view, which it was. But the other speculation but it didn't happen, was they were gonna create another tag title, and it was going to be the Women's Tag Team Championships. Do you think there's still a possibility they could do that between now and October?
No, I don't think there's going to be a tag titles. There's only one tag team right now.
No, I mean, but they have so many possibilities. You got Sasha and Bailey, who knows what they're doing with them. I mean, if they're not having them feud, then that kind of makes me lean towards the tag titles. Maybe they'll be the first tag team champions. On SmackDown, you got the Iconics. You have the Riot Squad. You have Absolution. You know, you could put Natalia and Nia Jax together. You could put Alexa Bliss and Mickey James together. Charlotte or Carmen, yeah, Charlotte and Bailey, or not Bailey, Becky Lynch. You know, there's so many possibilities you can have. The only thing is if they make these titles, unlike, you know, the world title, which I, you know, mentioned earlier, these need to be dual branded. Actually, maybe even tri-branded. They need to float between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And I think that'll create some excitement, you know, because they cannot sustain their own tag team division on each individual show. So they have to do it dual branded, which I wouldn't have a problem with. What about you?
That's why I don't think it's going to happen. That idea, just that idea would be great, but I don't think it will happen. And I don't think that it'll happen at all. I just don't see it happening, just because you mentioned a lot of teams, but there's no, and they could obviously put thought behind it, put storylines behind it, make it entertaining. But mostly when you think of the women's division, the only thing that you care about the women's division is the single stuff. You don't care about the Boston Hug Connection, which is a terrible name. You don't care about
their name.
That's what they did this Monday.
Ugh.
The Iconics, they're not that nobody really cares. Riot Squad, nobody cares. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, I think. Yeah, nobody cares about them either.
But maybe having the titles will make people care about these teams.
Well, that's what I was saying. You know, that there is that possibility that they could put a storyline behind it and make you care about it. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think they have too much momentum and too much steam with just the women's titles that they won't need to do a tag title.
Mm-hmm.
Do tag titles. I did making it inter-branded. That would be really cool. I'd be behind that, and I agree with you. The division's not big enough, but who knows with what they're trying to do with the Mae Young Classic, because Caitlyn's going to be in it. I think they announced one more on I think it's on Twitter. I can't remember her name. She's going to be in it. I think you could pluck from them and build up, because the women's division is still kind of small. I think it's bigger than what it's usually been, but it's still
way bigger than it used to be.
Exactly. But you could definitely pull from the Mae Young Classic. You could pull from NXT, and you can get more in there. I just don't know. I just don't see it lasting very long if they did it. So I think they're not going to do that. I think all their focus is mostly just going to be putting the show on, because how long is this going to be? You know, I feel like
probably going to be similar to a you know, B show pay-per-view, the new format of the B show pay-per-view, which is, you know, 3-4 hours.
I don't think they, even if you pull in Trish Stratus or Lita or all the other old divas or old women's wrestlers, sorry. Well, they were divas at the time, whatever. You bring them in, even with all that, you're not going to be able to fill 4 hours. There's no way. I don't care unless you say, okay, we're only having 5-6 matches and they're all going 30 to 40 minutes.
No, I think that they could stretch it out over 3 to 4 hours.
That roster's not big enough. It's big as it's a big roster.
They're going to have 50 women at this.
That's so. Stop making 4-hour shows. Ridiculous.
That's just in general, though. That's not about this pay-per-view.
No, I know. But I'm just saying in general, yes. Stop
it. Except for WrestleMania is acceptable.
Well, yeah, but even that's worse, because that's 6 hours, 7 hours.
So they have 5 confirmed matches. Well, they don't have the competitors, but they've confirmed that there will be for sure 5 matches. They're going to have a match for the Raw Women's Championship at the show, the SmackDown Women's Championship at the show, the NXT Women's title. They're going to have the Mae Young Classic Finals, and they're going to have a match for the WWE United Kingdom Women's Championship, which that's going to be starting here very soon.
Oh yeah, I think it'll probably be 4 hours, but I just I don't like it.
Do you think that's incredible though? That they currently as soon as they determine the winner of the UK women's title, they'll have 4 women's championships in WWE.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think
a long way.
It's great that they've come as far as they have, and a lot of times, like I said, the women's product is better than the men's. A lot of the times recently,
except for the Bailey Sasha stuff.
I do think it's hitting a peak. I think Evolution is going to be its peak, mostly because you can only do so many first time evers with the women's division. Eventually, you're going to run out of matches. Eventually. But that's not. I think it'll hit the peak in that aspect. I think it's still be entertaining. They still have very talented female wrestlers, and I think the division will be fine going forward. I'm very excited about what they're trying to do with Evolution.
So, do you think this is a makeup for the Greatest Royal Rumble?
No, I think they had this planned for a long time.
You do?
Oh yeah. JP keeps asking these questions. There's 2 questions he asked us. One we've kind of already addressed, but he saw about Brock Lesnar passing CM Punk. He said they're different titles, the Universal and WWE titles. What do we think about it?
So so here's what I think of that, and I will throw some facts on there for you. PWI, Pro Wrestling Insider. They are they're a magazine, online service, whatnot, and they have this thing called PWI World Championship status. So basically, these titles are they considered a world championship or not? So right now they only have 2 recognized titles for the PWI World titles, which are actually the WWE title and the WWE Universal title. So yes, it's a world title, even though it doesn't use the world name. It is a world title. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because they don't consider the NWA world title a world title anymore, or the Impact title, or the Ring of Honor title, or any of those as world title class. But their classification of a world championship is, how often is it defended, in different countries, which the Universal, well, not in the last year and a half, but the Universal and the WWE title, they're defended all over the world. So that's what makes them world champions.
I just think it was, we all know what it was. It was just something, they created it to just stick it to Punk. That's really all that was.
And if you look at it, and if you either way you look at it, because of what they're doing with Lesnar, they can say that he is the longest reigning champion of any kind in the last quarter decade or 30 years, whatever you want to call it. Because at least on the male side, obviously, Asuka, I believe, is the one who has the true record in the last 30 years of title or of days held, because she was NXT Women's Champion for almost 600 days, I believe.
Well, and I think Punk's reign was more impressive because Punk actually showed up to work. And another question JP asks, what about a women's cruiserweight championship and a division? I don't think that would exist.
No, it's not going to make sense because most of the women are kind of like the same build. With the exception of people like Nia Jax, or kind of the ones who might be a little bit stronger going back, like Beth Phoenix. She was kind of bulkier, in terms of, strength and whatnot. But yeah, a women's cruiserweight division, probably not going to happen. I think there'd be a chance of them more likely having a women's intercontinental championship or something like that before they ever had a cruiserweight title for the women.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to have that division. I wouldn't want that because clearly they don't care about the cruiserweight division for the men anyway. So,
but now if they were to do something along the lines of putting some maybe women's wrestling on 205 Live, or or something along those lines, I would be all for that. But yeah, they're not going to create a women's championship, women's cruiserweight championship. It there's no sense of it. They're gonna create a tag title before they create any other singles title, in my opinion, unless they, expand to another market, and they want to create like a China women's title or a India women's title or something like that.
All right. Is there anything else?
Well, we can talk about the other matches that we have on the card. So we already touched on both world titles, both women's titles. Other matches announced for SummerSlam, we have the Bludgeon Brothers. They're putting their tag titles on the line against either the New Day or Sheamus and Cesaro. Any thoughts on this match? I mean, the build-up, nothing's intrigued me about it so far, but if Sheamus and Cesaro win this might intrigue me a little bit, especially if they actually put the straps on Sheamus and Cesaro, because I thought they were an incredible team on Raw. And honestly, when they lost the tag titles, that's kind of when the division went, fell flat.
Yeah, I agree that I think the Bar is going to win, because I think they're still trying to put the New Day against Sanity, and I'm sure Sanity is going to get involved in the finals, so that the Bar is going to take on the Bludgeon Brothers. And I think if it's going to be the Bar against the Bludgeon Brothers, I think they'll put on some pretty entertaining matches. So I think that's exciting.
So you think they're going to go for a heel versus heel dynamic, or do you think that maybe...
I don't see the Bar as heels right now. I think because they took some time off, I think
kind of in limbo. Yeah. We kind of touched on this match earlier, but we didn't go into too much detail. We have Braun Strowman putting his Money in the Bank briefcase on the line against Kevin Owens. And if Strowman loses by any means, DQ, countout, or obviously pinfall or submission, he loses the briefcase to Kevin Owens. Now, this I find this is really intriguing, especially if there's some way that Kevin Owens can win the briefcase, and then, as you said, maybe he cashes in on Lesnar or Reigns and gets back the Universal title. I think that'd be interesting.
I think Kevin Owens is going to be Universal Champion by the end of SummerSlam. I think he's going to win in some way, and he's going to get cash in immediately. And it's going to be Roman that he's going to cash in on, I think. And then, unfortunately, we're going to get Kevin Owens against Roman Reigns. I think it'll be entertaining.
2016 all over again, just minus Chris Jericho, who was the only entertaining part of that storyline.
Well, it's because they just didn't know what to do with Kevin Owens. But that's my bold prediction. I think Kevin Owens is gonna win. I think he's gonna win and cash in and win the Universal title.
Next, we got Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins again for the Intercontinental title, and it's just a plain match. I mean, normally stipulation matches are kind of the be-all, end-all, but yet here it is again. They're just having a normal singles match.
I'd like to say that I think Seth Rollins is going to lose, and I'd like to see him on SmackDown.
I'm going to disagree with you. I would like to see Seth Rollins on SmackDown, but he does have some unfinished business on Raw. So there's a rumor I heard today. I think I was watching a Pro Wrestling Unlimited video, and they were saying that there's a possibility of Dean Ambrose coming back, and then maybe instead of having an Intercontinental title match, it's a tag team match. So it'll be Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. Oh, by the way, no, it was Cultaholic, who I think I watched this from. But anyway, now that match just alone sounds awesome, and the possibilities are endless on how you could book that match. And I think that's a lot better. I mean, nothing against the Intercontinental Championship, but I think that match would be a lot better to watch.
Yeah, I could see that, but I don't know, because I just don't know what they're gonna do going forward. Did you see Seth's comment on Instagram.
Uh,
WWE posted that Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar are going to be on Raw, and he commented, "Yeah, so will I. I've been there every week." I don't know. I could definitely see that possibility happening of Dean Ambrose coming back.
And here's where I think, this could be a booking paradise. Not only could the match be good, but have Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, win the tag team match, and then afterward have Dean Ambrose pull the trigger on Dean Ambrose turning heel and have him attack Seth Rollins. Because
they could lose the match, and that could happen.
Because here's the thing about that. I mean, because the rumor is they're going to bring back Dean Ambrose as a heel, but he left as a babyface. So if they bring him back and then just bring him back, as if he's going to team back up with Seth Rollins, and then have him, break that team up right away and have him gain heat. Because that'll be much more effective than just bringing him back and saying, "Oh, he's a bad guy now."
Yeah, I could see all those angles playing out. I'm just trying the campaign to get Rollins to SmackDown so Rollins and AJ Styles can feud for the belt.
I would love to see that, but that's the route I think they're going to go with. Last match, and I can guarantee we're not even going to spend a full minute talking about this match. The last match they've announced is Cedric Alexander versus Drew Gulak for the Cruiserweight Championship. The Cruiserweights get a match on a pay-per-view again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to be paying attention? Or was I supposed to care about this match? Because I don't.
Well, I haven't watched 205 Live much, but I've always liked Drew Gulak, so put the title on him. That's all I got to say.
You might as well.
Right. Nothing against Cedric Alexander, but
he's had the belt since Mania.
Yeah. But these aren't predictions yet. We'll do predictions, right before SummerSlam like we normally do. So on that note, Jake, do you have anything else? Anything else that you've heard in the news that's big?
I just thought it was very strange that 3 wrestlers passed away on the same day.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Actually, 4, because there was one of Matt Hardy's buddies did 2. Let me look that up real quick, and then we'll bring that up. Go ahead and talk about the
only one that I know of. The 2 that I can think of off the top of my head were Nikolai and Nikolai Kozlov.
Nikolai Volkov.
Volkov, yeah. And 2 Sexay.
Grandmaster Sexay?
Grandmasters. Yeah, it's too cool. It's Grandmaster Sexay, yeah. What a name. Those are the only 2 that I know of. I just thought it was strange that happened all at the same time. I really don't have anything else to say to that. I'm not going to give some sort of false, thoughts and prayer stuff. I just thought it was very strange, and it's very unfortunate for the families. But, I just thought that was a very strange thing to happen over the weekend, this past weekend. In terms of other news, you kind of wanted me to talk about, if you haven't got a chance to talk about it, you wanted to talk about Hulk Hogan.
Yep, reinstated into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Here's the thing. This is nothing new from WWE, unless you're Chris Benoit and what happened there. They have a short memory, and they tend to forget things like this. I don't care as much as I thought I would. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's the right choice. But their company, they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever. They can allow whoever they want in the Hall of Fame and take out, whatever they want. I just think it's kind of hard to do that. It's hard to let somebody back in when he said something like, and I understand they're in private. I mean, if somebody, anybody probably says really messed up stuff in private. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't think they've ever said anything to the degree of what he said.
Yeah. Here's my take on it. I don't think he should have been removed from the Hall of Fame because if you ask me, the Hall of Fame is, it's an achievement for all of, your wrestling achievement. It's for all your wrestling highlights, what you did for the business. And Hulk Hogan did a lot for the business. So I don't think you should be taken out of the Hall of Fame. I mean, unless it's something as serious as like a crime being committed, like a felony being committed, like what Chris Benoit did. I think that should disqualify him from the Hall of Fame. When they took Jimmy Snuka out of the Hall of Fame, I think that was a good decision. But when it comes to Hulk Hogan, I think he should have remained in the Hall of Fame. However, I don't think he should come back yet. I think that, or maybe not at all, but
no, I don't think it should be come back at all either. And it's all, again, it's just a thing where it's like, I understand where you're coming from, and I do get that, but I just think when you're a company like WWE who does all this work with bullying and is doing all this charity work for kids and things like that, how do you allow someone back in after they said things the way they did? And I also understand the aspect of like Hulk Hogan has done, the business wouldn't be where it is today without Hulk Hogan. I totally understand that. And it's not that big of an issue. Not a lot of people are making it that big of an issue. I just thought it would be easier PR just to avoid the whole situation altogether. You know what I mean?
Maybe quietly just put his profile back on the page, and
I mean, even if you do that, it'd probably be hard because you know how the internet is.
Right.
That's a good point. JP says, what about the Ultimate Warrior being in the Hall of Fame with all his statements on homosexuality and racial comments? He's in the Hall of Fame and even created an award after him.
That's an interesting issue. I mean,
it goes back to it being a company and they're being allowed to do whatever they want. I didn't know about those comments.
Yeah, he made some pretty harsh comments, I know, in the past.
You gotta understand, he was a very angry, vindictive guy for most of his life after what happened at WWE. I'm not justifying whatever he may have said, but yeah, I can understand that as well.
Also, then you got people like the Fabulous Moolah, she's still in the Hall of Fame,
who ran a prostitution ring.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questionable people who are in the Hall of Fame. Questionable on more than one case. I mean, you got people who are questionable about the stuff that they've actually done, and then you have the people who are questionable because they didn't really contribute anything to the wrestling business, a la the celebrities.
Here's the way I look at it. As far as I know, O.J. Simpson is still in the Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And you cannot tell me that he didn't kill his wife. So it's just this stuff, it's very hard to dictate, and it's very hard to say. It's a case-by-case thing. Again, it's their choice, their company. They can do whatever they want. I'm not saying that I agree with it. And with the stuff with the Ultimate Warrior, I don't agree with that either. So it's really up to the company, but I think that's about it for tonight's show, don't you?
Yeah, we're hitting that hour mark. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. We will be back soon. I really want to do a show, Jake, on me and you talking about who we think each individual champion is going to be going into WrestleMania 35, and I think that'd be a great show coming up here. I hope.
It'll be a while. I'm going to be very busy in the next few weeks, but we'll figure it out. Thanks to JP for staying throughout the whole thing and asking all these questions.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And yeah, if you ever want to, join in for a live podcast, you can subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then whenever you see that we're about to go live, join in the conversation. We'll talk about any questions that you have and what our thoughts are on it.
Get subscribed. Get slammed.
My name is Crawdaddy, and what he said.